about our esteemed guest speaker. Rabbi Gordon Tucker's resume is extraordinarily impressive, including degrees from both Harvard and Princeton. He received his rabbinic ordination from the Jewish Theological Seminary, where he served as Dean of the Rabbinical School and as adjunct assistant professor of Jewish philosophy. Rabbi Tucker has been a member of the Rabbinical Assembly's Committee on Jewish Laws and Standards and honorary chair of the Masorti Foundation for Conservative Judaism in Israel. And while we might not find this detail in most of Rabbi Tucker's formal biographies, it should be noted that Chancellor Gershon Cohen appointed him executive director of the 1977 Commission for the Study of the Ordination of Women. In 1994, Rabbi Tucker left academia to become the senior rabbi of Temple Israel Center in White Plains, New York, distinguishing himself as one of the preeminent pulpit rabbis of the 21st century. Few people are better qualified to speak about the theological implication and practical application of Kodesh V'chol in our lives as conservative Jews. And there are few better than Rabbi Tucker who can talk about the critical and lasting influence of Rabbi Neil Gillman. And now, Rabbi Gordon Tucker.
Thank you, Janet. And I want to say how pleased, thrilled, really, I am to be here in this large room filled with so many friends from many years standing, and people I am looking forward to meeting, if not tonight, in years to come. It's wonderful to be here just a short while ago to see this tribute and to hear this tribute to Evelyn Auerbach. I'm not sure exactly where she is in the room right now, and I never got over to her at dinner. Still coming? Okay. But that was a really wonderful added treat. And to be here with the leadership of Women's League, of Rita Wertlieb, and Saray Crane, and Evelyn Seelig will be coming up to make a presentation shortly. And of course, to be here with our honoree this evening, about whom I will now say a few words, Rabbi Neil Gillman, and with his family, Sarah and Debbie, who are here tonight. I have known Rabbi Gillman since the first day I walked into JTS as an applicant more than 4 decades ago. Can't believe I just said that. Right. You know how you write these things down? You say age, it's like, right. He was to get immediately into our theme, he was the recipient of the $5 silver that desacralized my firstborn son on New Year's Day in 1976. I have been his student and rabbinic and academic colleague and friend ever since. It was 4 years ago that I was given the great honor of delivering some words of tribute for him in the presence of hundreds of his rabbinic colleagues, most of whom were also his students, at the annual convention of the Rabbinical Assembly. And this evening, I am honored once again, this time to be part of what I can only call the essential companion and complement to that other event. For if in 2010 I was aiding in the celebration of Rabbi Gillman as a teacher of rabbis and Jewish professionals, tonight I have the very happy task of facilitating the celebration of something that is in every sense a role of equal significance and influence that Rabbi Gillman has happily and gratefully played. For he has been a teacher of enormous reach, not just to the professionals of our movement, but also to the faithful congregants and lay leaders of conservative Judaism and beyond. You all know very well what Rabbi Gillman's teaching at the Women's League New York Institute meant to his legions of students over the years. You might not be as fully aware as you might be of how much it meant to him. There is a very earthy apothegm found in the Talmud, in Tractate Psachim. Yoter mima she'ha'egel rotzel linok, ha'para rotzah lahanik. Even more than the calf wishes to draw milk, the cow wishes to give milk. Everyone, you understand, this wasn't about calves and cows. Everyone who has known Rabbi Gillman, everyone who has worked alongside him, certainly those who have done so for as long as I have, knows that this aphorism applies to him with pinpoint precision. You know, academics sometimes consider it to be a necessary chore to write for the public outside of their field, or to travel to lay communities to offer their institutions teachings in a non-professional setting. It's so much easier to stick to the often turgid jargon that their colleagues in their field recognize and expect. Am I giving away any secrets here? I suspect not. Rabbi Gillman has been the exemplar of the mood and the mode antithetical to this, because he has always considered it to be a bracing and essential and a most welcome challenge to transmit his truly deep philosophical and theological syntheses, to transmit them in a package free of the argot of academe. And he looked forward to such teaching, whether it was in the Feinberg Auditorium or if it was in communities throughout the country. He looked forward to it as being the fresh air that he loved to breathe and that invigorated him with the insights of intellectually and spiritually engaged lay people, such as those in this room. Everyone reads him, and everyone comes to hear him, because the language in which he addresses every audience immediately tells them that he has boundless respect for them. And it tells them that he deeply believes in the importance of the contribution that they have to make to the spiritual and historic enterprise of the flourishing of Judaism in the modern world. As a result, Rabbi Gillman's books, well more than half a dozen at this point, are the treasured possessions of, and more important, they shuttle in and out of the bookcases of not only his rabbinic and academic colleagues, but of thousands upon thousands of engaged and seeking Jews, especially conservative Jews, everywhere. The same is true of the countless articles and chapters that he has contributed to anthologies and to general and specialized journals over the years. Now, in my tribute to Rabbi Gillman at the Rabbinical Assembly 4 years ago, I kind of joked that Neil, who is a Kohen, I already told you that, who is a priest, and by the way, one of his really wonderful essays is called In Praise of Birkat Kohanim. So I joked that Neil, who is a Kohen, had truly earned the title that was given in ancient times to the highest priests in Roman Republic times. It's a title that was later appropriated by the emperors and eventually by the Catholic popes. The title is Pontifex Maximus, which literally means the greatest builder of bridges. And Rabbi Gillman really has been that in two senses. He has built bridges between the academic world and the best of our lay world, distinguished representatives of which are gathered here in this room tonight. And he has helped to bridge two terrains that so often seem to be drifting further apart, the terrains of modernity and tradition. He has insisted to us, and he has shown us by personal example, that honest reasoning, ethical sense, and a very personal ownership of Jewish truths can all coexist with and even increase the power of the traditional texts and ritual constructions to which his whole life has been committed. So he has brought Jews and God together. A bit over 6 months ago, I was asked to respond to an article that achieved instant notoriety for its claim that it was time to give conservative Judaism a decent burial. In my response, I noted that, and I apologize here for doing what I usually hate, quoting myself, but there's no other way to do this. I noted that there are cadres and communities that continue to live out and develop the kind of moral and spiritual engagement with tradition that conservative Judaism came into the world to cultivate. And moreover, there are more than enough of them to ensure that this noble enterprise can and will prevail. And although I didn't say so explicitly in that article, the truth is that the existence and the substance of those cadres and communities are in incalculable measure the handiwork of our honoree this evening. So Neil, as one of your students and as one of your constant admirers, I now say to this assembly, in the words made famous by Rabbi Akiva and only slightly tweaked at this moment for gender, Shali v'shalachem shalohu. What you and I have achieved as conservative Jews truly belongs to him, to our teacher, to our honoree, and to our true and loyal friend. Yirbu kemot Chabi Yisrael, may the people of Israel always deserve to have teachers like you. And now I have the pleasure of inviting Evelyn Seelig, another dear friend of mine, of Neil's, to make the presentation.
I'm so delighted to have the opportunity to do this because Neil and I just told his wife before, we've had a love affair going on in the hallways of the Jewish Theological Seminary for many years. It didn't go beyond the cafeteria, but it was very, very loving. Many titles could be given to Neil Gillman over his long career: scholar of Jewish thought, rabbi, teacher, father, husband, inspirer, and I could go on and on. But the best title that I could give him is Mensch. This is especially true when it comes to his relationship with the women of Women's League. Over the years, whenever we would come together, Neil always showed great respect for our intellect and love of learning, always challenging us to think beyond the usual, always spoke to us as equals. I remember one time when he said to us, "What is God?" To many of us, No one had ever asked that question. Many of us could not put into words what God meant. This is the kind of challenge that was so inspiring to us. Gordon just mentioned that he called him what was it? Pontifex Maximus. Well, I want you to know that when we were thinking of giving a gift to you, Neil, we went down the usual path of plaques or Judaica, but now we know what really should be given to the Pontifex Maximus. We said we had to find a unique gift for Neil because he was the unique Women's League scholar. Lisa Kogan, our education director, wrote to Rabbi Abraham Skorka, the head of the Seminario in Argentina, and asked him if he could be our shaliach in an important mission. She asked Rabbi Skorka if he might, on our behalf, intervene with a very special colleague and friend of his. And let me tell you, this friend of Rabbi Skorka is quite distinguished. And by no small coincidence, his friend's theological interest dovetailed perfectly with those of Neil Gillman. Rabbi Skorka came through with this favor, so it is my great pleasure to present to Rabbi Gillman, on behalf of Women's League for Conservative Judaism, a Hebrew translation of the book On Heaven and Earth. This book was co-authored last year by Rabbi Skorka and this colleague, late of Argentina, who was known previously as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, today most probably better well known as Pope Francis. Rabbi Gillman, this book is inscribed personally to you by Rabbi Skorka, and it also includes a personal handwritten inscription to you from Pope Francis. It is dated Vatican VI, June 2014, including the Hebrew date as well. So this unique gift is going to our most unique friend, Neil Gillman, with our love and respect. And we're just thrilled that we could present it to you.
I need not tell you that I have spent a good part of the last 6 months wondering which plaque I'm going to get, which print I'm going to get, where possibly can Women's League give me something which no other branch of the movement has given me in honor of my retirement. This one I did not think of. So thank you. I will treasure it. When Lisa spoke to me about this event, as you can see, I'm not at my very best. I have had struggled with illness, and although I am in complete remission, as my doctors tell me, thankfully, gracefully, there are leftovers to the treatment of cancers, and I'm suffering from those. So I have to sit and use a walker, and I'm gradually getting my strength back, but it's been slow. So I was thinking of how to deal with tonight. And I have to tell you that there are two personalities that I've have encountered in my memories, and that I have heard about and think about a great deal, who in some way have accompanied my current state of health and my state of life. One of them is all over the place. Nobody in this room has not heard of Derek Jeter. And when I said to myself, well, do I have an example of somebody who's retiring, who is leaving the scene of activity? I said, boy, it's very hard to avoid this one, because wherever I go and wherever you look, there he is. And what struck me is I am very, very far from a Yankee fan. And I am very, very far from exalting Derek Jeter. But he's so damn good. And I constantly am forced to recognize the fact that he does things on the field, that nobody else does. He is, and I want to use the term deliberately, he's a classic ball player. Classic in the sense of the ultimate model of what every ball player really would love to become. So I said, well, I have a model. Let me speak about Derek Jeter. But I said, nah, not here, not tonight. But something else kept coming into me. Another name kept coming on me, and that is a rabbi, no longer with us, but with whom I spent a great deal of time when he was alive and serving as the rabbi. In those days, in Buffalo. I'm talking about Rabbi Isaac Klein. Now, some people are nodding and smiling. That means I am not the only one to remember him. But for 12 years, I was the high holiday rabbi in his congregation in Buffalo. And the gift was that for 3 days a year, Isaac Klein and I just sat down and talked. And talked and talked and talked about everything. And I observed him in action as a rabbi. And I have to tell you that one year I came back to New York, and I told Sarah, my wife, who's here tonight, you know, I would love this job of being a congregational rabbi. And she said, Neil, you do it for 3 times a year. Imagine if you would have to do that every night and every day, year after year after year. And I said, oh yeah, I forgot about that. But in many ways, Isaac Klein was a classic rabbi, the model of what I think every rabbi should want to become. He's no longer with us, but I have so many memories, and I wanted to reflect on one specific one, because I think it's appropriate to my stage in life now. Walking to shul or walking home with Isaac after a Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre servant, we walked 5 steps and stopped while he took my arm and gave me an anecdote, a story, a midrash, a pshat, something for me to take back. And on one occasion, he said something to me which I have never forgotten. He said, "You know, Neil, I'm not going to be around for a long time, but I want you to know that what is important to me is not what people are going to say about my work as a rabbi after I die, but rather what people are going to say to me in my hearing after I have been serving as a rabbi." Neil, he said, "I want to hear my eulogies, and I want to know what impact I have had, but I want to hear about it." And unfortunately, that doesn't happen because people don't talk to me about why I have helped them, why have I been a great rabbi. They don't talk to me about that. What they talk about is all the memories that they have when I'm no longer a rabbi. So I leave you with this. The thing that I am most grateful about tonight, in the spirit of Isaac, is to be able to come here and to meet with people like Gordon, like Evelyn, like Lisa Kogan, like any number of women who have studied with me, talked to me, met me in the cafeteria, gave me an embrace, a hug, said, "Hey, Neil, I just read your book, thank you." It meant a great deal to me. And the fact is that you're inviting me here tonight for people to come over, formally and informally, and for people whom I respect and love, like Evelyn and Gordon Tucker, and all of you tonight who have knocked on my shoulder and said to me, "You don't know how much your book meant to me." Or, "When my father died, somebody gave me your book, The Death of Death, and that enabled me to survive the mourning period for my late father." Or, "You know that book that you wrote, Sacred Fragments?" I said, "Yeah, I know it very well." So I have to tell you that it took 9 publishers rejected it until JPS agreed to print it. That book made it possible for me to be a Jew, because you said things about faith and about beliefs that no other rabbi had ever said to me, and that made it possible for me to go on to live a Jewish life. Or when I used to travel to other congregations now, the high holidays, and I walk into the Bet Midrash for the service that I'm going to be running, and there, sitting in the front row, is a family of a father, a mother, and 3 children who were regulars in my Buffalo Minyan every year for 12 years. And when they heard that I was coming back to their synagogue now to serve as a high holiday rabbi, they immediately joined the synagogue and came, and there they were. And I had the issue of not repeating the sermon that I had given years earlier when they were sitting in my chapel, this chapel where I was then the current Rosh Hashanah rabbi. This happens to me again and again. And I frequently say to myself, you know what? What makes me so lucky? I'm so lucky to know that while I'm still alive and functioning and talking to people and writing, I'm still alive, and people have acknowledged the fact that I have made a difference. Nothing is more important to me than the awareness that I've made a difference. So, Derek Jeter, certainly. Isaac Klein was one of the great rabbis of the generations, an incredibly great scholar, rabbi, preacher, classic rabbi. And it's my prayer, not only that people will think of me as a rabbi, or as a good rabbi, or as a rabbi that helped them discover their Judaism or to get through stages of faith, but as a rabbi who helped them understand much better what it means to be a Jew in a very difficult time. The fact that you have invited me here tonight to tell me this in your own way, not only individually but collectively, as the Women's League, which I recall years and years and years of traveling to Women's League conventions and to Women's League institutes and all over the country. The fact that you remember that and that has made a difference, made it possible for you to come here tonight, it means more to me than anything else that you could possibly say to me. So, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being so gracious to me tonight. And I hope that you and I will continue to study and to talk and to meet about what is this Jewish stuff all about and why it's so important. Thank you.